Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and welcome to Fantasy Outlook, Fantasy in Depth, whatever you want to call it. We talk fantasy sports. We're still talking fantasy football. I'm here with my co-host, Kasey, Vlad to the Bone.
Vlad to the Bone.
Seinfeld.
How's it going, Ross?
Nice to see you. Sorry about your loss.
It's okay. You got your Bengals. At least one of us is happy.
I'm not saying anybody died. I'm just saying the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants.
Let's talk about the Giants first.
Kind of died.
So you're at home. You're snuggled up in your mansion in Pennsylvania. You got the fireplace going. You got the caviar. You got the champagne. You got the kids probably with you. I imagine, at least your son. I mean, tell me your thoughts watching the game.
I was mildly optimistic. I think when we talked last week, I had said I still think the Eagles are going to win, but I had hoped the Giants would at least cover, keep it close. But man, there was just it felt hopeless early. I mean, it really did. Watching how easily Jalen Hurts moved the ball down the field against what was a lifeless Giants defense. The only good news is I got to really turn it off by halftime and get a decent night's sleep because it was 28-0 or whatever at the half. So
it was painful. And as soon as I saw the stat of Kenneth Gainwell, 100 yards and a touchdown, I knew the Giants lost. I mean, when Gainwell scores a touchdown and 100 yards, your Giants are in trouble. I mean, It was a tough game. I mean, Hurts really shows why I believe he's the MVP. He's, as much as I'm a Bengal fan, I love Joe Burrow. Trust me, he's a folk hero. We'll talk about that game coming up. But I think the MVP this year is Jalen Hurts.
Who's your I agree. I mean, I got lucky. I bet on him big in fantasy at the start of the season. I stacked him on a lot of leagues. And so I won a lot of leagues because of it. He did it all. He did what Lamar Jackson was supposed to do and didn't do. And so if you took a chance on him in the second round, which is where I was able to get him, second or even third round, in a 2 quarterback league, you had to take him in the first round, but in a single quarterback league, you could take him in the second or third. He paid off big. He was awesome. People questioned his deep ball passing ability and accuracy, and he shined this year. I mean, he was just awesome.
I mean, adding AJ Brown this year was huge for them. I said that, and they also have Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. So I mean,
Smith had over. Did Smith lead the league in receptions? Did I see that?
I don't know if I saw that.
I don't know. I'll look it up while you talk.
It's a good question. I want to say no, but if he did, tell me I'm wrong. And if you guys have any questions about the games coming up, about fantasy plays,
Justin Jefferson did.
I thought it was Justin Jefferson. I want to tell you that. But if you guys have any questions about anything fantasy wise, ask us right now. I'll be happy to answer them. Kasey will answer them. We'll have fun. I just feel the Eagles, and I was watching the game. I'm saying to myself, how can Hurts lose his job to Tua in Alabama? Saban supposed to be some genius that knows how to recruit players and know who's good, who's bad. He decides to tell Tua, it's your starting job. Hurts has to transfer to Oklahoma, finish his career there. He had a great season in Oklahoma. But, I mean, this guy's 6'4", 250. Linebackers just bounce off him. He can run like the wind. And then Tua's like a 5'11", left-handed throwing quarterback. I mean, he's not bad. I'm not saying the guy's bad at all, but it's like night and day. You see these two guys next to each other. It's like here's the man and here's the boy. You know what I mean? It's like obvious. Hurts throws BBs at people. I mean, he really does. I mean, his arm, he gets no respect when it comes to throwing the ball as much as he runs. But I mean, he really is a marksman.
Well,
he can
as somebody who watched a lot of Alabama, 2 things. One, to be a successful college quarterback and a successful NFL quarterback are oftentimes very different monsters. Look at Tim Tebow or somebody like that who excelled in college. I think Tua was a great college quarterback, and Jalen Hurts. Yeah, his passing is dynamite now, but if you watched him in college and even his first year as a NFL quarterback, his accuracy was not great. He's worked his tail off to improve that accuracy. And what is Tua best at? That quick read, quick release, accurate passes. By the way, Just Bob, it's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. And yes, you can rub it in. I think I picked that, but I think I did try to say the Giants could win it. Although I think I said I still think the Eagles are a better team, but you guys can have it. That's fine. I'll say
you did say the Bills are going to win too. I don't want to tell you that.
No, I picked Cincinnati.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Every time.
Oh, that was Dan Ratner. Dan Ratner.
Yeah, Dan went Buffalo. Right.
Any team Dan Ratner touches, they lose. He's a Browns fan now. He's a Buffalo fan. I hope he's a Chiefs fan now.
Did you hear the Purdy interview, the Brock Purdy interview after, or somebody put a quote up of his, and they said, because he went to Alabama for a visit as a high school quarterback, and Saban's feedback to him was he was too short, his arm strength was average, and he wasn't accurate enough, and now he's leading them to.
I mean, Kasey, the greatest story is the guy for Buffalo's Josh Allen. He was not recruited at all for no Division I teams out of high school. He went to a JC team. He put together like a demo reel of his JC work. Only one division team said, "Okay, we'll give you a scholarship," and that was Wyoming. He went to Wyoming, developed himself into a first-round draft pick, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, all these guys passed on him. I mean, it just shows you if you have the drive.
Some guys are late bloomers, so
they are. But still, I mean, you could say that about everybody. I mean, late bloomer. He bloomed when he was 19 years old at Wyoming. I mean, that's when he bloomed. I mean,
so Just Bob is acknowledging his bias. I'm not a Tua fan, and he brought up the same thing I did. Tim Tebow is a great college quarterback also. Johnny Manziel might fit into that mold.
Flutie was too. I mean, Flutie was an unbelievable
quarterback
in college, but he's a midget, so there you go. I mean,
Trace McSorley at Penn State, who got a start this year, I think, with Arizona when everybody was hurt, was a great college quarterback, but he's not an NFL quarterback. Same.
Yeah. Yep. There are many great college quarterbacks.
Bob, I forgot. You are a Dolphins fan.
So let's go to the next game that you were watching. You were, the Jacksonville Jaguars were at Kansas City.
Yeah.
Kansas City did not cover. They got that junk touchdown at the end, Jacksonville, to make it a 7-point game. So, if you bet on Kansas City, you lost on the back door. I mean, that was a horrible loss. I feel bad for you guys. But I mean, I feel Jacksonville's a team that's to be reckoned with next season. I think they'll do some great drafting, some great free agency stuff.
Well, and don't forget, they're getting Calvin. They traded for Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver from Atlanta.
I did forget.
Suspended. So they'll have him to add to Kirk and Zay Jones going into next year, plus whatever else they draft. So they're just going to get stronger. And Trevor Lawrence,
love Calvin Ridley. I mean, he did the dumbest thing ever. He said, "You know what? I'll make a personal bet. Not let my brother or my best friend do it, but I'll make a bet on DraftKings.
One of them,
yeah, one of those DraftKings in my account, and I'll bet on my team Atlanta." And the NFL does not put up with any of that stuff. I mean, if you
I do think there's a fair bit of misprioritized morality with the NFL when somebody like on their first charge of domestic violence or child abuse gets a 3-game ban and somebody bets on his own team to win a football game.
And he's on the IR and he's not playing.
Right.
And he's watching in his street clothes. Yeah.
Gets a 1-year ban. I think their morality, I question it with that type of sentence for betting $50 or $200 on a game versus beating a child or beating your girlfriend. But
I agree 100%. That's a great one. And I mean, I watched the Kansas City game. Pacheco, I mean, that guy was just running over people. I mean, that guy looks great.
How hard does he run when he puts?
He runs hard. Kasey Shienvold.
That 40-yard run he had. That 40-yard run he had in the second half, where he just put his head down and got outside and was just pumping his arms. It was fun to watch.
I mean, he's the real deal. But in fantasy, again, I don't like Kansas City running backs just because Mahomes likes to throw and he likes to run himself. But I do like Pacheco. I think this guy's the real deal. And the biggest injury in football right now, Kasey, high ankle sprain, which being a doctor, that's very, 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 very painful. And mobility is not going to be good for him on Sunday. Especially being the cold in Kansas City is Patrick Mahomes. He has this high ankle sprain. And when you're a quarterback, when you can't throw off that leg, it really affects your mobility, affects your accuracy, affects your strength, everything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he plays, how he handles kind of, and whether the Bengals can get a pass rush going to make him move around and exploit that kind of ankle.
The Bengals defense has been really good. I mean, that's been an underrated thing in the league right now. I mean, their defense, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the Bengals, but I mean, their defense has been very surprising. I mean, Hubbard has been great. I mean, that guy is just like a machine. And they have some really good pass rushers right now, and Bates is playing safety unbelievable. I mean, they have some really good guys. Even like Eli Apple, who gets burned all the time, used to be a Giant.
That's when he got burned all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'd spell toast when he was out there. It was unbelievable. But I mean, again, we'll talk about the Bengals. But your Kansas City team, I think, they started the week as being favorites. Now they're 2-point underdogs at home against the Bengals.
That's amazing, because that means, because isn't it usually a 3-point? They give the home team a 3-point edge just for being at home. So that means
you're talking about a team that's made the conference finals 4 years in a row. But we're also talking about a Bengal team that's beaten Kansas City 3 times in a row.
So at Kansas City the last 2 times. Yeah.
There's a lot of streaks. So, on Saturday, I thought the games were good. Not great. I think, as you know, I'm a Bengal fan. It's kind of hard to tell what I'm wearing today. But on Sunday, the Bengals beat Buffalo 27-10 in Buffalo.
And it wasn't as close as the scoreboard made it. 27-10 makes it sound like it was a closer game than it was.
Stephon Diggs yelled at Allen right after the game, went to his locker, just left, didn't even say goodbye to anybody. And one of the players had to stop him, say, come back. The coaches didn't even come out yet. They were still like talking. And he actually came back and heard the coach's speech and left in a huff. And on his Twitter, he's been like saying bad stuff too. So, I mean, I don't know if Stephon Diggs will be a Bill next year. We'll see.
That's interesting, because he's like one of the most well-liked. Like, he was one of the few wide receivers that didn't really have that diva moniker attached to him. He seemed like a pretty humble guy who was a team guy, and this was uncharacteristic for him.
So I would say 95% of the people were picking the Bills to win the AFC either in the beginning of the year, middle of the year, when the playoffs started. I mean, everybody I was talking to, they were all jumping on the Bills bandwagon. They all said they're going to the Super Bowl. Everybody I talked to, and no one listened to Ross the Boss. They said the Bengals almost won the Super Bowl last year. It's the same exact team, except they're better with the offensive line, even though they're hurt. But the Bengals offensive line, we talked about it. They had second stringers in there, and those guys came together. And I think they probably posted some articles on their bulletin board and kind of motivated those guys. But that offensive line for the Bengals, they pushed. I watched it. They pushed those guys back. I mean, Joe Mixon was like running for 8-9 yards a carry, and I mean, I felt like the defense for Buffalo was on roller skates. I mean, they were just being pushed by the Bengals. And I mean, Joe Burrow, I mean, talking about being laser and being like just mentally focused, and you being a psychologist, you can tell this kind of stuff. I mean, he's the most focused quarterback right now playing. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, he's in his zone. I mean, you can't. I mean, the guy has more confidence, like just the way he carries himself and the way he plays football. You get a sense that he thinks every pass he throws is going to be a touchdown. It feels like that when he's in the pocket. He has so much poise right now. It's impressive. It really is impressive.
I mean, the running game's playing well per line. Even their second string running back is getting carries, and he looks good. T. Higgins, Chase, Boyd, and even their tight end, Hayden Hurst. My God.
Got a touchdown,
he looked unbelievable.
You got a tutty.
So, the Bengals they look good, Kasey. And then let's talk about the last game, which I thought was a snooze fest. I know it was 19-12. I know the Niners won. It was just a boring game to watch. I mean, I'm just being honest. I have no interest in either team. I have a lot of friends that are 49er fans, a lot of friends that are Cowboy fans. I mean, Dak Prescott, why the winner won this game, in my opinion, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. I just felt it's what quarterback made the least mistakes, not the biggest plays, but the least mistakes.
Yeah,
And
I mean
Dak Prescott had
certainly,
the interceptions, and Purdy didn't. And he really
yeah.
Brock Purdy didn't have the interceptions like Dak did. I mean, what's your opinion about that game? Do you think Dallas will win with Dak Prescott as a starting quarterback, or do you think they have to go? I mean, they have to pay him for next year. The year after that, they don't have to pay him. But do you think Dak is the future?
I think so. I mean, look, there's only a handful of the top tier is the top tier for a reason. There can only be 4 or 5 guys in the top tier. Somebody needs to have second tier quarterbacks. People just don't think, like Cowboys fans think that because they're a Cowboy, that makes them a top tier quarterback. I mean, but he's still a top, probably. I mean, could you pick 7 or 8 quarterbacks better than him in the league right now?
So you have him in your top 10. If you were drafting,
so.
If you were drafting a fantasy team tomorrow.
No, not fantasy. You're talking about.
We're a fantasy network here at Kasey Shienvold. We got to talk fantasy.
Let's see. If I was, who would I go as my top quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, there's Hurts.
It's Hurts, Allen,
there's
Burrow.
Mahomes, and there's Allen. Those are the top 4 tier guys that I would definitely put on. That one of those guys are going to be on my fantasy team in all my teams. I'll be drafting one of those guys.
I think as weird as this sounds, I think I'd rank almost somebody like Justin Fields over him.
Good. No disagreement.
Right now, just because of the running option. The interesting one is I think he and Trevor Lawrence are probably right around the same spot, but I still have him at 8 or 9. Like if Herbert bounces back and for him to be out of the top 10, you would need Herbert to come back big, Jackson to come back big, Kyler Murray to come back big. Aaron
Rodgers maybe going into Vegas.
From what I've been reading, they think if Tom Brady is coming back next year, he'd go to Vegas. I mean, and that Aaron Rodgers, people are saying, from what I've, Fields is going to be really good with the Jets. Just Bob, you think Justin Fields is going to the Jets? Is that what you're saying?
He just said that. It's not a bad prediction. The Jets want to win. They want to win now. And
that's why I think Aaron Rodgers would go to the Jets.
Again, guys, do you really think a 39-year-old quarterback is going to take you to the promised land? Do you really think so, Kasey Shienvold? I'm
not a Jets fan.
I mean, I'd rather draft one of the young studs coming out of college football. There's
Stroud
3 or 4 of them.
Young.
And then the big prize next 2 years from now is Caleb Williams for USC. He's going to be the big prize, obviously. First round, he'll be the first pick. But again, I don't know if I want to put my eggs in the basket with Rodgers or Brady, especially if I was had a franchise of any team. But who's got the number 1 pick? Well,
Bears.
That's funny because what happened was Houston did have it, but now the Bears have it because Houston decided to win their last game, which made me laugh because the next day they fired Lovie Smith, which is a good FU to Houston because he won the game. Now Houston gets a second pick.
So just Bob, who do you think the Jets would give up to get Fields? If the Jets had the number 1 pick, it might make sense.
I don't see Fields leaving. I think he proved that he can play football in the National Football League last year. I think the doubters with a new regime that came in, and they would kind of shake the cage and say, "Listen, we're not sold on this guy. Let's see what happens." I don't see the Bears trading him.
Just Bob, I know you're a CJ Stroud fan. Do you think that's you think the Bears should trade Fields for a ton and then draft Stroud? Is that what you're saying?
I think CJ Stroud will be starting before Young, the guy from Alabama. I think CJ is going to start this first year. That's my opinion. Okay, Case, let's talk Sunday. The early game is the NFC Championship. We have the San Francisco 49ers at Philadelphia, the brotherly love city. The Eagles are obviously the favorites. The Niners have a longer winning streak. The Niners have a rookie quarterback that has never lost a football game yet. The Niners have Christian McCaffrey, who's an animal on, in big games. He loves playing. So what's your opinion on that game? How do you think the script will go? How do you think players will do?
I see the Eagles winning this one by a touchdown.
Okay. High
I
scoring,
think
low scoring?
it'll be somewhere in the 24-17 range. I think
24-17, that's 7
the
points.
Eagles offense is good enough. Their offensive line is good enough that they're gonna give Hurts between his running and passing a chance to get 3 touchdowns. I think Brock Purdy to me has been the best story in football for the past 8 weeks or however long it's been that he's been at the helm.
He's 8-0. Yes, 8 weeks.
But the Philadelphia Philly to go to Philadelphia on the road is a different animal than at home or anywhere in the West for the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Eagles had, in addition to the rowdiest, raunchiest, most evil fan base in football, and that's considering the Raiders and the dog pound in Cleveland. Like, Philly fans they're rough.
They're rough. They're tough. They swear. They throw batteries.
They also had
horrible human beings.
But the defense had 4 people with double-digit sacks this year. Hassan Reddick led the league in sacks.
Yep.
They had 4 guys with double-digit sacks. Like, they have Slay, who's a shutdown corner, who they can put him on Debo. I don't think that offense that could only score 19 points against the Cowboys at home this last week can put up points, enough points against Philadelphia to shut down Brown and Goddard and Devonta Smith and Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts. And I think Philadelphia is too well built this year to not go to the Super Bowl.
I think the difference is going to be AJ
Brown,
the receiver they got from Tennessee early, during the offseason. I feel he'll be going right up the middle. I feel they'll be hitting him for passes 20, 30 yards right in the middle of the field. And he'll be the difference maker. I think Miles Sanders should have an okay game. The defense for the Niners is good.
The Niners' defensive line is very good.
They're top. Bosa's. I think for defensive MVP this year, Bosa has a great chance.
That's why I'm only predicting 24 points for them to win. They put up 38 against the Giants. So,
and I don't think Kenneth Gainwell is going to run over 100 yards against the 49er, defense. No way. He'll be lucky to have 30 yards. So, and then Purdy, I think the streak's over. I think you're right. I think, this kid had a great streak. He'll probably be the starting quarterback next year for the 49ers.
Well, I think I would agree. Ooh. I think they're going to put out there that they think Trey Lance, that San Francisco is going to do the misinformation thing in the beginning, that Trey Lance is healthy and playing well and that he's going to be competing for that starting job just so that they can trade him.
I say Trey Lance is gone on draft day. I predict draft day.
I see it happening more during spring, more during summer training.
You got to learn the playbook. These guys, I love when quarterbacks remember Kaepernick tried out in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
that try. I mean, how is that even feasible when you're you have to learn a playbook? You got to get some reps with the players. You can't. A quarterback position, you just can't go out there and start playing. It doesn't work that way.
I'll stick with what I said last week, which is Trey Lance to the Miami Dolphins. I think. Their coach knows him well. The playbook's got to be similar, the terminology and all that stuff. It'd be an easy transition for him. They're not sold on Tua long-term, as Just Bob has said a number of times. We'll put it up there. I'm not a Tua fan. I don't like it when the Dolphins drafted him. And so I think that would be an interesting scenario to get a big, strong, mobile quarterback with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Well, I too will take the Eagles. I think it's going to be a field goal game. I don't think it's going to be a 7-point game. If I'm betting man, I want to take the points and take the Niners. That's me. I'll take the under on that game too. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I see McCaffrey scoring a touchdown. I see Kittle maybe getting a touchdown on the other side. Brown, huge game, maybe 2 touchdowns. And I feel Miles Sanders is going to have a big game too, even though that defense for the Niners is good. I think Miles will have a big game too. But all said, your NFC champion will be the Eagles. Let's talk about the AFC. We got the Cincinnati Bengals going to Kansas City. The Bengals are favorites. The Bengals are a well-oiled machine right now. I think they're playing the best football of any playoff team right now. If I had to pick a team that's playing the best football, I would say it's the Bengals. You know, I'm right, Kasey Shienvold.
The Eagles played pretty well.
Yeah, but they played the Giants. There's a big difference at home. We played Buffalo at Buffalo. Do you understand what's going on? So I'll talk first. The Bengals, to me, will make this a blowout game. I think they're going to blow out Kansas City. I don't think Mahomes will be able to play quarterback that well. I think he's going to push off the wrong foot. And here's Greg Romano. Greg, you look great in that car. And I mean, it's going to be a blowout. The Bengals should win 35-10. I'm just saying this because if it happens, I look like a genius, Kasey Shienvold. And you don't think I'm nuts. But I think the Bengals are just playing such good football right now, and they're playing so well together. And I just feel with Mahomes hurt and the high ankle sprain, and the Bengals having that 3-game win streak against the Chiefs, and it doesn't matter. They play better on the road, the Bengals. They really do. I mean, I don't know what it is, but the Bengals haven't lost since October, Halloween against the Browns, which is amazing. But I mean, they're playing great football, Kasey Shienvold, and I just think without Mahomes being healthy, I don't think they have a chance to win the game. But that's me. What's your opinion?
Well, I think right now, I mean, with Mahomes' injury, I'm going to pick Cincinnati. I don't think it's 35 to, what did you say? To
35-10.
10. I could see him putting up 35 points, but I could still see Mahomes, even on 1.5 legs, still getting 2 or 3 touchdowns, giving it to Kasey or giving it to McKinnon, who both have been dynamite for them in the receiving game. But I don't. They have Chandler Jones. Is it Chandler Jones? Is that there, or who's their defensive lineman in Kansas
Chris
City?
Jones.
Chris Jones. He's going to get to Burrow once or twice, but outside of that, I don't see how they can slow down Cincinnati's offense right now. It's just too good. They're going to need an uncharacteristically bad game from Joe Burrow for them to have a chance, or one of those games where it's like dropped passes or tipped passes that get intercepted. I just don't think Kansas City's playing well enough right now.
I agree. And Kansas City is a tough place to play. I mean, that stadium is loud. Just Ross is not going to like this, but I think Joe Burrow's having a tough day. Wow. I mean, I don't know if you watched him play in Buffalo, Just Bob, but this guy is lasered. This guy is focused. He's playing above any other quarterback in the NFL right now. Maybe Hurts is on the same level, maybe. But Kasey Shienvold, you know I'm right. You know Burrow is just a different different breed. I mean, this guy is just playing unbelievable. But we'll see, Just Bob. I hope you're wrong. We're all hoping you're wrong. But you take your Kansas City team, and if you win, we're going to say you're right. We'll send you a T-shirt. If Kansas City wins, Just Bob, we're sending you an MFSN T-shirt. So there you go. We'll send you that T-shirt. So let's talk. You know, people always ask me, like, what can I do during the off season when fantasy's not going on? What can I do to like make my fantasy team next year better? And there's a lot of things you can do. I'll give you some points that are going on during the off season that are important for fantasy football. The first thing is it's coaching. A lot of head coaches will be fired and hired. A lot of offensive coordinators, which is very important in fantasy football, are going to be hired and fired. And you got to see where these guys land. You got to see what players they will be controlling, obviously. And it's going to be a pretty good offseason of people getting hired and fired. And you got to find out where these guys land. I mean, you really do. I mean, that's an important fact. And I mean, that's one thing. And then we go to free agency starts in March. That's another big thing because all these free agents get to sign with new teams, Kasey Shienvold, which affects fantasy tremendously.
And we'll find out who are free agents and who gets re-signed or franchise tagged. That's going to be also interesting to see where, like, you know, the Saquon Barkleys and Tony Pollard broke his leg in the NFC divisional game, which was really tough because he's been awesome, but he could be a free agent at the end of the year. So you got some big names rolling around out there who could be changing teams. So
I agree with you. I think, but again, there'll be some movement, especially this year. I believe with free agents, there's a lot of good names that are free agents that are going to opt out to be free agents. You got to keep track of who signs where.
Gut
And
reaction. Is Lamar Jackson?
And then the next thing coming up.
Hey, stop. Is Lamar Jackson a Raven next year?
Stop. Hammer time. That's what we should say. Stop. Hammer time. Is Lamar Jackson a Raven? I don't think so. I think the Ravens are just up to here with him. He didn't hire an agent. His mom's his manager / agent. I think he's asking for the world. And
Just Bob says yes, he's a Raven.
See, I disagree. I think, listen to me very good, Just Bob. This is where he's going. Are you ready? Drum roll. Give me a drum roll, Kasey Shienvold.
No.
Drum roll right now.
No.
I'll do it. Okay.
That was
Washington Commanders will be the starting quarterback for Lamar Jackson next season. Washington Commanders. Yes or no, Kasey Shienvold? You like my prediction?
No.
What the heck? You don't like it, man? So you think he'll be a Raven next year, Lamar Jackson?
I would say Ravens or Falcons.
Falcons. I like that prediction. I do like the Falcons. I think that's good. He played college ball at Louisville.
Not close to Atlanta, but it's a young team that
it's not that far from Atlanta, actually. That's a good prediction.
Young receiver
I like
and
that.
Drake. You have Kyle Pitts and Drake London. It's a running team.
I like it.
So,
I like it. Okay, so I say Commanders, you say Falcons, see what happens, and Just Bob says he stays in Baltimore. I think he's out of there. I don't think he's going to stay. I think Baltimore drafts a quarterback during draft day too. And then let's talk about draft day. That's the other big thing we got to worry about for fantasy football, because a lot of teams are going to take position players, skill players. They're going to affect your other players you might have in dynasty leagues or in keeper leagues that will affect their time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you remember this, but like 10 years ago, there wasn't really, when you drafted a running back, like it was over like in the 6th round. Like after the 6th or 7th round, there was like no more running backs left and you were done. Now it's like a lot of usable running backs are available after the
and they don't take
round.
Running backs in the 1st round very frequently.
No.
I mean, Breece Hall went in the 2nd round, for crying out loud.
No.
So
the running back position, there's a lot more usable names and players compared to like 10 years ago. It's a whole different. I mean,
well, I think
can you tell me? I'll have a quick question for you, Kasey Shienvold.
Okay.
You ready? I want to hear. I wonder if you can get this.
Do you know the answer to it, or are you just asking?
I know the answer, of course.
Okay.
Tell me the last player to have 400 touches. What running back? Excuse me, had 400 touches in a season? Go.
400 touches.
I'll give you a clue.
Terrell Davis.
No, it was 2019.
Oh, 2000. Derrick Henry.
No. Christian McCaffrey, when he had that huge year.
He had 400. Oh, you mean carries and receptions?
Yeah, the touches. That's yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking of handoffs. I was like,
I should have said that. I thought you knew the lingo. I guess not. No, but I mean, it's amazing now. It's like, players barely hit 300 now with touches. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They're very safe now. I think the reason Christian is hurt so much is because what happened in 2019 with all those touches. I think that's why he's beaten up.
Yeah.
And I think it affected him. You just don't see that many touches anymore. Like Larry Johnson had like 400 also. Remember him? I mean, it was like,
yeah,
it was a whole different game back then. I mean, then running backs just got, Larry Johnson had 500 touches one year. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, he was averaging like 40 touches a game. I mean, it was crazy, but it's different now. Kasey Shienvold is totally different. But let's talk about draft day is important. Another thing that's important, of course, is during training camp and what players beat out what player. I mean, that's another important fact that you got to watch and see who's going to be the starter at what position, because you'll find if it's close. Like I think it's going to be close in Buffalo with Singletary and Cook. I think one of them is going to have to be the starter. One's going to be more of a backup role. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of competition this year, especially in the running back position. And you got to keep track of all this stuff. I mean, this is something you can do during the off season. And
yeah,
I know it sounds difficult. I know it doesn't sound like a fun task to do, but if you want to win your league next year, that's the stuff you got to do those little things, Kasey Shienvold. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree entirely. I mean, paying attention to everything during the off season is critical to being well prepared for a draft.
I agree. And you can't depend on those stupid books, you know. Well, gentlemen, this is just Bob. I have to blow out for the night.
Bow
Where
out.
are you where are you going?
He has to work.
Oh, I have to go to
2
work
a.m.
tomorrow early at 2.
Well,
That
get a
is
good night, get a good evening and early night's sleep, and we hope to see you on Thursday, Bob. Thanks for joining us
Yep,
again.
and the Clippers play the Lakers tonight, so if you can't sleep, you can watch the Clippers Laker game. So you can maybe watch that, but if not, we'll see you Thursday, Just Bob, at 1:30, 4:30 your time. So Kasey, let's talk baseball real quick. We're done with football, right?
Oh, spring training pitchers and catchers report in like 9 days or 10 days.
10 days or close to it. Big trade happened today.
Well, it wasn't a big trade. It's a noteworthy trade.
No, but it's big for you because you love this player. I mean, you talk about him every baseball season. You talk about Alberto Mondesi.
Alberto Mondesi. See you
Alberto
Thursday,
Mondesi.
Bob.
Alberto Mondesi, who you have in our fantasy league, and you have high hopes. I mean, this guy's a 30-30 guy. I mean, he really is.
Oh my! Well, he's more like a 30-60 guy when he's healthy. The problem is he doesn't play more than 25 games in a season because he's hurt every year, and we have a keeper league, and I just like when you get down to that 6th keeper.
Yep.
And you don't have a stud 6th keeper. I keep him as my lottery ticket every year, and he starts off great, and then a week into the season, he gets his first hamstring injury, comes back for 2 games, gets another injury, comes back for 3 games, gets an injury. He just drives me up a wall. But
I mean, there's no trade value. I don't think he'll be drafted that high in our league. I mean, you can probably not keep him, and you'll probably be able to draft him probably in the middle round. I mean, I don't want him. I have no interest.
I wouldn't take him early either, but I might keep him.
I mean, he's playing in Fenway. I mean, the ballpark is very friendly to him. He does have power to right field.
Look, here's my concern.
Yep.
I'm a Yankees fan.
You are? I can't tell from your backdrop, but keep going.
Or my sweatshirt. If I don't keep him, he's going to stay healthy and just wreak havoc against the Yankees. So almost like Murphy's Law, I have to keep him just to make sure he's hurt and doesn't hurt the Yankees.
So are you changing your nickname to the word Mondesi somewhere in there? Or
no, I'm still Vlad to the bone because I'm not getting rid of
fine.
Vladimir.
I'm just making sure, Kasey Shienvold. But as Kasey and I talked about, baseball's coming up. We are loving baseball season. The Super Bowl is in a couple weeks, or 3 Super Bowls in
3 weeks.
Be 2 weeks
Sunday.
on Sunday.
2.5 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks on Sunday. So after we'll talk Super Bowl a little bit coming up, but everybody's going to talk Super Bowl. We'll talk about baseball, Kasey. We'll talk about all the changes that happen in the league, all the stuff that's happening around the league. I'm very excited to be part of this year in baseball. I think it's going to be a great year and no COVID, which is going to be great.
Yeah,
and which means there won't be like testing and all that stuff that happened last year. Do they still test in like the NBA or NFL for COVID?
I don't know.
I hope they don't have. Remember, like I don't even want to bring it up, but I just hope there won't be any testing. It's a waste of time. I mean, especially with like negative tests and fake positive tests. It's all. I'm not a theory guy, but I'm just letting you know it's just there's no point of like testing anymore. Either you have it or you don't. If you have it, you sit out for a week. If you don't, you keep playing. Okay, well, that's it for the show. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Kasey Vlad to the Bone Shienvold. I hope I said that right.
Vold, whatever.
Vold, thank you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here.
That's okay.
It's been 38 minutes. So I'm tired. But we'll see you guys with Dr. Dan Ratner on Thursday, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. We'll talk more about sports. We'll talk football. We'll talk baseball.
The latest
Dan
news.
likes talking basketball, which I guess if we have to, we will. I'll even talk Australian tennis with people. I've been watching that. I've been enjoying the Australian tennis. A lot of Americans were left.
Yeah.
Which is shocking. Shocked. And tonight, guys, watch the Lakers Clippers. The Clippers have been owning the Lakers the past few games, but we'll see what happens tonight. And I'm wearing my Clippers shirt right here. Enjoying that. I got my Bengals shirt. I got all my teams on today. I feel good. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Kasey Shienvold. I'm sorry, Kasey.
That's
I just
okay.
can't speak
Hey,
today.
you're
I just
good.
can't speak. I don't know what's wrong. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.
Have a good night.